It is time for the weekly update, and this is the first update of the year. So, hello, happy 2026. My name is Zach. This channel is mostly science fiction fantasy reviews. Once a week, though, I do discuss what I have been reading, finished reading, and most importantly, and most fun for me, what I've been watching. Because I am, yes, in addition to a book nerd, I am a huge film buff and we watch a ton of movies. So, what have I been up to? This is the very first Monday of the new year. It is January 5th, 2026. Back at work. And yes, a positive of being back to work after a pretty great 2 weeks off is back to routine. So, I have been a little bit out of the reading habit these past 2 weeks, just, yes, laying on the couch, watching a ton of movies. And since I read a lot of audiobooks, I'm usually listening to books while I'm exercising or walking or commuting to work. So being at home and yes, it being winter, December, freezing cold here in New York, I have had a little motivation to go outside for that afternoon and evening walk. I haven't been walking at lunch. So I've been, yeah, really neglecting my reading. So to segue into the first segment, what did I finish reading this week? And it was only one book, which is, yes, pretty sad. And that was Empire of AI by Karen Hao. Not sad that the book was bad, but just sad that, yes, I only finished one book this week. And it was my last business book. I was on this business book kick mainly because, yes, the holds came through on Libby. And it was a pretty good book, surprisingly. So I was a bit negative reading it because the book is a bit critical of OpenAI and Sam Altman because yes, that's what the book is about. It's this chronicle by a journalist about the company, and I sort of self-reflected that why am I so upset about this? That she's being negative, or not being negative, but exposing sort of the negative aspect of this grow at all costs for OpenAI, and I think as I was kind of going through my own emotions, I think I bought into the corporate PR, the corporate hype that OpenAI is this great company doing good for the world. And she just isn't critical, how the author isn't critical of AI itself. She is a bit critical of the company, more so that they lost their mission, that they were the open AI, they were a nonprofit for good, trying to bring AI to the masses as a research lab at first, but then the book chronicles how that mission sort of shifted from being a research lab under the influence, of course, of Sam Altman, who she chronicles and shows how he rose to prominence from Y Combinator. And it's basically her like argument that she makes is yes, that those tendencies to consolidate power like an empire that Altman learned at Y Combinator is what he's bringing to OpenAI. And the empire in the title is, yes, how they're consolidating resources of not just physical resources, like you've probably heard about NVIDIA, the crazy valuations, and the circular economy of NVIDIA investing in OpenAI, who invests in OpenAI, then invests back into NVIDIA and buys chips. So it's that circular AI bubble that we hear about. But this is something he learned at Y Combinator because the Y Combinator cohorts would use each other's services. So one startup would use the services of an adjacent startup and they would use a different startup, and it created like a consolidated economy, a circular economy within the startup Y Combinator world. And yeah, it's just very interesting to hear like the pros and cons and some of the inner workings through her investigative journalism that started before the AI hype bubble came off. So that's kind of a long talk because yes, I record a video, so this is for front of mind about the book. I just gave my thoughts in a video, so I'll stop there, but watch the video whenever that comes out. And what I'm currently reading is I am finally back to reading Malazan, Book of the Fallen. So I am finally today back with Memories of Ice by Stephen Erikson. And I got about 2 hours of audiobook listening in today, so a decent chunk because yes, I'm finally at work. So I did my lunch walk, listened to audiobook. I walked after dinner, so got some good reading time in with the Malazan world. And I have to say, I'm nearing the ending, and Memories of Ice is pretty darn cool. There's a lot of cool things going on. Anamanda Rake is in there, Quick Ben, Whiskey Jack, how they all interplay together. The Warrens are getting corrupted by the crippled god. The Chain Kamala, yeah, the Tister Andy. They're just yeah, like all of the cool things that I love in the fantasy world of the Malazan is here in book 3, Memories of Ice. So again, highly recommend if you can read the first two. The third one is pretty great. But yes, I like the first one. I like Gardens of the Moon a lot. Deadhouse Gates is a little more, I don't know, like people driven as opposed to lore driven, but it's still good. Yeah, you still learn about Talane Mass and all the jackets. So a lot of cool stuff in second book too. But yeah, third one is back to good form with because we're back to the bridge burners, I guess, is the main thing. So yes, so one book read, one currently reading, and then what we watched one, two, three, four, five films this week. Because yes, early in the week we were off being the holidays and New Year's Eve. So what did we start with? We watched Demon Slayer Infinity Castle, Demon Slayer movie, the next iteration, not iteration, the next episode, the next arc of the adaptation of the manga into anime form. And it was pretty good. I really liked it actually a lot more than Chainsaw Man, even though I think on the whole, I like Chainsaw Man as a complete story more than Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer is a little more childish. It's just battles all the time. And yes, the movie is just battles all the time. But Chainsaw Man movie, the Reze arc was not as action packed. So I liked some of the other arcs later in Chainsaw Man more. So like I like the next arc, the International Assassin arc is really cool. The upcoming stuff, the gun, they finally go against the gun devil after that, and then they finally go against the control devil. So a lot of really cool stuff coming up. Not that Resi arc wasn't good, but back to what we watched. Infinity Castle is just, yeah, it's you're in that late end game of the story, and it's kind of nonstop action, like Mugen Train was. It's just a nonstop action, battle after battle, some really cool fights, and we haven't even got to the end of the castle. So they're still in the castle at the end of the movie. So lots of battles to come in the Demon Slayer anime. And then after that, I think it was just like New Year's Eve or the 30th, Netflix finally released, or not finally, but it was on my radar, but 100 Meters was on Netflix finally, and it's pretty good as well. It's more of a sports anime movie, and it's definitely character driven, and it deals with just, yes, like the title, 100 meters. They're sprinters, and we follow these two characters, these two kind of rivals from childhood, and they form a childhood rivalry, and then you can kind of see where this is going. Then they reconnect later, kind of after college, and then one went on to perfect his game and surpass the other one. Then they have like a heated rivalry at the end, and just it's a movie about, I guess, growing up. So if you like stories about childhood into growing up and sort of that dealing with adulthood and rivalries and that kind of story, it was pretty good. It's on Netflix. So if you got Netflix, you got this one. Also on Netflix on New Year's Eve, yes, we watched Stranger Things, the finale. So I count it as movie because the last episode was a movie and it's on Letterboxd in order to log as a movie. So we watched the Stranger Things finale at 8 p.m. Eastern. I watched it before the new year and had a pretty good time. Yes, I 100% agree with all the criticisms that I see online that, yes, the fight was like 5 minutes against the Mind Flayer. The epilogue was longer than the movie almost. It was like 50 minutes of epilogue after an hour and 15 minutes of the episode. So it did tie everything together. So in that sense, at least it did give us a satisfactory ending. You can't satisfy everyone. Of course, I always wish things played out differently. Like, where are the Demogorgons? Where are the bats, the Demo dogs in the last fight? Why didn't we see more L or more of the main characters just coming together? They do come together at the end and they finish the campaign. We see those final shots of the next cohort of D&D players wrapping up and starting their campaign at the table in the basement. So overall, this is a satisfying ending. At least it gave us closure, wrapped up all the major storylines. So I do have to give it that they at least tie everything up with plenty of time to spare. And I like the epilogue a lot. And then this past weekend on Saturday and Sunday, we watched Wicked for Good, which is on streaming now. And another like miss for me. I wasn't super hyped with the first Wicked. It was just okay. I'm not a big musical guy, even though, yes, recently, if you watched my review, I watched Tokyo Tribe, which I thought was a fun musical, the Sono Sion rap musical Japanese film. But Wicked for Good was like, again, it was one of those movies that, why did they split it into two parts? They probably could have done one long movie, even though this movie was long by itself. Just so on the positive side, to give it a positive spin, it was interesting to see kind of the other side of Wizard of Oz. So I did like in this one, we see Dorothy and we see kind of that story finally taking place. We're into the Wizard of Oz era of Wicked. So that was neat, sort of seeing the parallels finally kind of tying together the first half. First half was all backstory, the first Wicked. And then now the second Wicked movie is we're caught up to the Wizard of Oz storyline and everything now is sort of clicking into place. So on that sense, I do enjoy, give it props for that. That was okay at least. But overall, it was, yeah, just not my thing. And then lastly, in spirit of letterbox challenges, the January challenge is Japanuary. It's a challenge to watch films from Japan, which we do anyway. So we've watched a lot of foreign films. And just this week, yeah, we watched Demon Slayer, 100 Meters. And then on Sunday, we watched Reborn, which is an older movie from 2016. And it's, as I've read the description and why I read it, I agree with it. It's like Metal Gear Solid. So if you played the Metal Gear Solid games, yes, I played Metal Gear Solid, played Metal Gear on the Nintendo. Yes, that's partly why I'm wearing the, Super Mario 3 shirt today, but I played Metal Gear 2 on the NES. So way back in the day, it was, yes, tactical espionage action. And then on the PlayStation, I think anyone that grew up with the PlayStation, yes, Metal Gear Solid was amazing. It was such a good game. We were obsessed with playing that in college. Metal Gear Solid 2, again, sort of went a little bit sideways. Metal Gear Solid 3, then I stopped. But anyways, what the movie is, yes, it's like Metal Gear Solid. It's like a tactical sneaking fighting movie. So it's a revenge movie where the main character is a former special forces, and then he's dragged back into the fight, sort of like a John Wick, but he's a killer, of course. He's the elite of the elite, and he gets wrapped up in another attack. So a little bit almost like Sakamoto Days, the anime, because he runs a convenience store. So I did get flashback to Sakamoto Days because our killer, he's not an assassin, but he's a killer special forces guy who runs a convenience store, takes care of a little girl, and then gets caught up in the assassin kind of battle world again of mercenaries. And yes, and the fights are more sneaking attacks, knife fights. So it does remind me a lot of Metal Gear Solid. So if you like action choreography, the choreography was honestly pretty good. That's why you watch this film. But anyways, it was a good start to Japanuary watching Reborn. Okay, last thing to talk about is TV because we are all cut up on Pluribus. It had its season finale last week. So into the new year, we are excited for anime to come, but there hasn't been that much that started this week. So we were catching up on reruns of series. And I don't think I've talked about this on channel, but to briefly mention, I did a buddy watch with Alvin for To Be Hero X, the anime, and it was from last season, from 2025. It was on the whole okay, great idea, some cool characters, but the fact that it was like that anthology where you followed every character for a couple episodes but never really stuck with one, but there were a little bit through threads here and there. It tried. I don't, again, some people love it. When I read on Reddit, it's like some people's favorite of the season, but I finished it finally and it was just okay. It was, I had, again, sort of maybe like certain things, I had higher hopes for it and wish it went in a different direction. And then what we also started as a family was Spy Family. So yes, we're finally watching 2022 Spy Family season 1. So with the lack of nothing else to, not nothing else to watch, but with all of our options, we finally started Spy Family after stopping it for whatever reason, but we are watching that as a family. So the three of us are watching Spy Family, having a great time. Love Anya, love Lloyd, love Yor. They're all so great. We were about on episode 15, so we've got Bond the dog. Bond is great. So yeah, the characters are just so great. I see why it's such a great show. Highly rated. So now we have season 2 and 3 to watch for Spy Family. And just talk about upcoming, which is what I wanted to segue into in this segment. So because it's January and the start of the winter anime season, there are so many great anime coming up this season that this segment of the weekly vlog will hopefully soon be talking about the new shows. So we have Frieren season 2, which we started finally season 1, but I've read the manga, love the Frieren manga, so I'm looking forward to watching animated Frieren. You also have Hell's Paradise season 2, another show that I watched the manga, or not watched, read the manga for Jigo Kuraku, which is aka Hell's Paradise. Hell's Paradise was great. Season 1 is an action kind of shonen battle anime, so the wife will watch it, so that's why we watched that one. But it's a good. The manga was good too. Jujutsu Kaisen season 3. Speaking of stuff we watch as a family, so yes, all three of us love our shonen battle anime, and Jujutsu Kaisen, the next one, will be definitely on our list to watch. Fate Strange Fake is finally restarting. So this week was only episode 1, but we actually got episode 1 last year. So if you keep up with the Fate franchise, yes, episode 1 was like a preview last year, and then this week the start of the winter anime was just the repeat airing, I guess, of Fate Strange Fake season 1. So yes, I didn't rewatch it because I already watched it last year. And then lastly, technically listed on my anime list as a winter anime, but doesn't start till March, which is the one I'm probably most excited for, is JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, Chapter 7, Steel Ball Run. It's Chapter 7, like Volume 7, Steel Ball Run. This is the only JoJo that I've actually read. So I started reading the first, second, and third, which are just okay. Battle Tendency, the early ones where they're doing like the non-stand fights. Couldn't get into the manga. I read again the Stardust Crusaders because this is the classic. The OVA from the 90s was one of my early introductions to anime in general. Because yes, the early OVA for Stardust Crusaders was very influential. So I have rewatched that as a anime, but I didn't read parts 4, 5, or 6. We started watching part 6, the one in jail, the jail one, because on Netflix, but didn't finish that. But book 7, part 7, Steel Ball Run, is one of my all-time favorite mangas. I've read the manga twice. It's just so good. It's just a really interesting series. That is what got me into the hype of JoJo and understanding why people can enjoy it. The characters, the fights, the stands, just very imaginative. The fact that it takes place in the Old West on horseback. The main character is disabled. Yeah, it's a lot of really interesting things going on. The whole there's just too much to talk about. I won't spoil it, but a lot of really cool stuff. The villain is great. I love the president of the United States of America being the villain. The corpse. There's just so many great ideas in Steel Ball Run. Highly looking forward to that, and highly recommend you check out the manga and watch it when it comes out in March. So I'm going to end there because I'm getting off track and just talking about JoJo's. But thanks for listening to this. It will, hopefully this week finishing up the last 20% ish of Memories of Ice, and I think probably moving on to Harry Potter Book 2, which is on Audible, and I've already purchased it, but plenty of books to read, and yes, I can say I'm excited to be back at work and back in the routine this new year of 2026 and back to the reading habit. So hope you've set your Goodreads goals or wherever you're tracking your reading goals. I know I've set mine, and I'm wishing you, anyone watching this, a year of reading ahead and year of watching films ahead. So thanks for watching this video, and I will talk to you later next week. See ya. Bye.